Good evening, YouTube, and welcome to an unusual episode of the Angry Astronaut. This is going to be one of my most distinctive and unusual episodes, as I kind of suggested before. A little bit off the cuff here, but as you probably were able to tell from the introduction, I am going to be conducting an unboxing and a build on this thing, which I'm going to have a hard time even showing it to you. It is so huge. The LEGO Space Shuttle Discovery. Boy, I can't even say it right. Space Shuttle Discovery. We're going to be showing you a little bit of this. It is one of the most ambitious kits that LEGO ever put together. It is one of my favorites, at least in terms of how detailed it is and just how much you can learn about the space shuttle for those of you who may not be all that familiar with the shuttle program and indeed all of the things that it did. It is depicted along with the Hubble telescope, simply because Space Shuttle Discovery carried out the most missions in conjunction with it. By the way, this is my first time seeing any of this stuff. So we're going to be showing this to you at the same time that I'm going to be opening it. So this is an actual unboxing. I have no idea what the hell this is. All I know is that there's probably a number of bags inside, all containing a variety of different components. And at this point, we're going to have to stop for a second so I can get some scissors. Okay, I am back. Once again, sans glasses, simply because I'm going to need to see properly in order to do all of this with you folks. And I strongly recommend that any of you who are able to purchase one of these kits to go ahead and invest in them, because they are so unbelievably detailed and so unbelievably accurate. I put together an ISS kit about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. Over the last year, it's been a little bit more challenging for me to do things like this. I've actually had this kit forever because I was suffering from a deep tooth or jaw infection of some kind. It took a lot of rounds of antibiotics and such for me to deal with that problem, but enough with my issues. I wasn't actually expecting to find a big-ass box inside the big-ass box. So we're going to go ahead and cut this baby open and then have a look at what's inside. Now, there are some bags in the rest of the box, which is what I'm more accustomed to seeing, is a bunch of bags full of Legos. Well, let's have a look and see what we got in here. More bags. Bag number 5. So the way these are usually worked is they're not color-coded, but rather number-coded bags that involve each particular step in the assembly. You start off with bag number 1 usually, and then you assemble it from there. So forgive me if I seem a little bit excited. It's kind of cool to delve into this. So what else do we got here? Bag number 7, my God, bag 7, bag 5. Once again, my first time seeing any of this. I've heard that unwrapping or unboxing or something is kind of a popular thing to do on YouTube. I don't know why, but anyway. Bag number 8. All kinds of, dear Lord. Okay, here's bag number 2. Oh my God. Ugh. I cannot begin to describe how much stuff there is in here. And this, by the way, is the instruction manual. Yeah, it's a volume is what I would call it, more than an instruction manual, so I'm going to keep that baby right there. Dear Lord, there's bag number 1. So maybe we'll be starting with that, but once again, I'm not going to jump to any conclusions. Dear Lord Almighty, look at all this. I'm not even sure I can keep track. And by the way, there are more bags in the box. An additional bag number 2? This is complicated. And by the way, I'll be cutting away every now and then as I try to figure this damn thing out. Wow, I'll tell you. Bag number 4. This is insane, just the sheer volume of pieces, but that is what these kits are about. Obviously, if I took the entire time that it requires in order to assemble one of these things, you'd be looking at a 6-hour or longer YouTube video, maybe even longer than that. We're all the way up to bag number 14. Dear Lord Almighty. Wow. Ugh. Bag 15. Oh, this is insane. No wonder these things cost so much. Bag number 12. All right. So, let's bag 17. Okay. This is going to be an involved process, guys, but once again, we're going to do it bit by bit, and we're going to talk about some facts involved with the Discovery and maybe some of my theories about Discovery too. Like, what if we were to use it today? What if we never gave up on Discovery? Would it be a millstone around our necks pulling us down? Or is it something that we, should have kept around for a little bit longer than we actually did? So we'll be discussing that as we proceed through this process. So hang in there. Okay, I am back. My God, I have seriously underestimated the complexity of what we're dealing with here. I really shouldn't have, given what I was tackling, but this makes the whole ISS kit look like a joke in very poor taste. This volume of instructions, there's over 500 steps, over 500. So fortunately for you and me, bag number 1, bag number 2, and bag number 3 appear to be devoted to the Hubble. So I'm going to be assembling this, and we're going to go through it, and I'll show you the finished results of each completed bag, not each completed step. My God, 500 segments, are you kidding me? No, I'm going to show you each completed bag as I get them done, and then I'll describe what you're looking at, plus a few other facts. Be back in a moment. Okay, I lied, or rather I reconsidered as to what I should do or how I should conduct this. So I am on to bag 3 at this point, and I may be able to do this whole process frame in frame, or maybe not. So this is an example of one of the steps that I'm going to be undertaking here, and there are millions of these, so I'm not going to review all of this with you. Instead, we're just going to go straight into it. So we have... through the magic of editing, we have the completed work from bag number 1 out of, I don't know how many bags we have here, 17, something like that. This is, I believe, the stand for the Hubble, because included within this bag also is the NASA ESA logos, along with a little plaque for the Hubble Space Telescope, a telescope that was first conceived actually in the 1940s. Yeah, astronomers even way back then had figured out that if you could lift a telescope above the interference of the Earth's atmosphere, it would provide much, much better images, which of course Hubble did after a few hiccups, which most of us are aware of, but I'm going to cover that in just a moment. Okay, so now we got this, and apparently, no, it doesn't go there. Where the hell does it go? All right, this is annoying. And once again, through the magic of editing, here I am, and here is the progress that's been made on the Hubble thus far. NASA and ESA, of course, being involved in this instrument, and being named after the famous astronomer Edwin Hubble, who, of course, died in the 1950s, far before his dreams of a telescope above the atmosphere were realized. But this man accomplished amazing things. Probably the most amazing discovery that Mr. Hubble made was using the most advanced instruments of his time in the 1920s, he discovered that the further away a galaxy was from us, the more it appeared to be receding from us, the faster it seemed to be receding. And from this data, he came to the conclusion that the universe was expanding at a consistent rate. And from this data, he determined that the age of the universe could be estimated roughly. And all the way back in the 1920s, decades before we took our first steps into orbit or any place else, he determined the approximate age of the universe, the fact that it was expanding, and the whole notion that it may have had a beginning such as the Big Bang. Some huge breakthroughs made by this man, again, well before some of the discoveries even Einstein made. So it's for a damn good reason that this was named after him. Now, on top of that, of course, most of you probably know that the Hubble had its issues. When it was first deployed, the astronomers at NASA took their first looks, got their first pictures, and they were blurry. They were blurry as hell. I got a chance to see a few of those first pictures actually when I was a kid, and I couldn't believe how disappointed I was, and I can only imagine how horrified and mortified they were. And it's because the mirror had a flaw in it, something that fundamental. Now, granted, it doesn't take a very big flaw to create a huge problem with the images that a telescope creates, but still, the fact that this very fundamental and very basic error was made on the Hubble was extremely embarrassing. And for a little while, they used computer correctional programs, that sort of thing, to try to enhance the images. But really, it was determined that they were going to have to take corrective action on the instrument itself. And installing a new mirror was not practical or really possible. And so instead, they put the equivalent of corrective lenses on the Hubble. And by the way, and I'm going to have to cheat here because I forget what this thing was called, but it was quite an interesting, the Corrective Optics Space Telescope Axial Replacement, also known as CoStar. And it took years to get this thing installed, and there are a lot of people biting their nails over that particular mistake and whether or not the corrective measures taken by NASA with this instrument would be sufficient in order to produce the results desired. And to everybody's relief, the results were amazing. And once, of course, all of us have seen that. And once again, the reason that this instrument is paired off with Discovery is because Discovery made the most visits to it, 3 total visits, including the deployment of the instrument originally. Discovery was NASA's workhorse throughout its history. But I'm not quite done, even with Bag 2. I'm taking a short break, and I'll be right back. Now this is going to need to go on here, theoretically. Really. Aha. And back again. So we've got, here we are, almost completed at least the telescope itself. We're going to have to add on still quite a bit to it, solar panels, etc., before it's going to be ready. This is only what I managed to complete with bags 1 and 2, and I showed you the results from bag 1. I already showed you that, the plaque and the stand and that sort of thing that this is supposed to go on. This is an enormous amount of work, even more than I thought, really, when I first got started on this. It does have some interesting notes, by the way, for those of you who are interested in this kit, things that they talk about in the introduction. A spaceflight icon, for example, 5 space shuttle orbiters, and for those of you who are already familiar with this, I'm sorry, kind of review, made up NASA's Space Transportation System fleet. Our space shuttle fleet, the Columbia, the Challenger, the Discovery, the Atlantis, and the Endeavour. Combined, it was 135 missions. carrying 355 people into space. Discovery flew the most missions. It also carried the highest number of passengers, traveling further and higher than any of the other orbiters. It was also Discovery's assignment to launch and deploy the Hubble Space Telescope, as I pointed out to you guys before, in April of 1990 as part of the STS-31 mission. In 2021, the 40th anniversary Space Shuttle program, we take this opportunity to revisit this famous mission when they first deployed the flawed Hubble Space Telescope. And there's a lot more to be reviewed here. They actually even talk about commercial crew and how commercial crew made for a more effective replacement. But the question I want to ask real quick is, what if Columbia and the Challenger disasters, what if neither of those happened? Or what if only one of them happened and the program had gone flawlessly after that? Would we have even had commercial crew? Or even if we did have commercial crew, would it be a complete replacement? Now, I know this may sound crazy based on everything that we've talked about in the past, but if NASA is to be believed, after all the developmental costs, after all the costs with investigating the Challenger and Columbia disasters, that sort of thing, the cost per shuttle mission was roughly $500 million. Now, that sounds like a tremendous amount of money, but also keep in mind that once Boeing Starliner gets into service, that's going to be $90 million per seat. $360 million. Now, I know obviously inflation counts for a lot, but let's just say, for argument's sake, that NASA somehow managed to get the operational cost of the shuttle down to about $500 million per launch, as they've quoted it in the past. Let's say that that's still what it would cost today. If they were able to pull something like that off, that's not a very big difference. Also, if you consider how much additional payload the shuttle can take up, tons and tons of additional payload on top of the astronauts that it would be taking to the ISS. Not necessarily for ISS resupply, but if you consider in this day and age, the day and age of microsatellites, CubeSats, that sort of thing, how many of those the shuttle could take up to LEO. It could also take tugs, for example. Those are coming out now, satellite tugs designed to take satellites from low Earth orbit to other orbits. The shuttle could deploy things like that. So in a single mission, theoretically, the shuttle could not only do everything that Starliner is doing, but also bring up 20 tons or more worth of equipment, satellites, small sats, CubeSats from God knows how many customers. And then really, how much of a cost difference would you have based on how much money NASA would make off of all of those customers that would make up the vast payload that the shuttle has at its disposal? And on top of that, being able to take the crew at the same time. Now, granted, SpaceX is way cheaper, $220 million per mission for 4 astronauts, a lot cheaper than $500 million. But Starliner, not that much of a difference. And if you were to take the payload into account, the shuttle might actually come in at a pretty comparable rate. And so, as a result, you might have the shuttle being your backup service provider to Crew Dragon. The shuttle theoretically could have stayed in service in addition to Crew Dragon taking care of inexpensive transport of astronauts to the space station, while the shuttle would take care of those things too, while having many ancillary missions that it could take part in rather at the same time in order to make up the cost difference. Now, this is insane. I have never seen anything like this before in a LEGO kit. Usually, if they're doing solar panels, they'll have decals on a piece of plastic. Instead, they actually are depicting this thing as thin and as fragile as it would be in reality. And then you just hook it on. And by the way, there's 2 of these that you need to assemble. But check this out. Talk about fragile. Oh my God. And then You put these on to hold it in place. It's insane. Honestly, I mean, I appreciate the accuracy, but this is a little possessed. Back in a minute when I'm done with the damn thing. Something to consider, guys, something you might want to think about, just for the fun of it, really. I mean, obviously, we're never going to bring the shuttle back now, but something to consider for the future. Do we really want to permanently retire such a sophisticated spacecraft? Might we want to consider making something similar to the shuttle, perhaps less expensive, perhaps more reusable? There are many possibilities. Obviously, Starship is supposed to fill out this need, this very big reusable spacecraft. Perhaps Starship is absolutely the way to go. I tend to believe that. But at the same time, as cool as the shuttle was, it's an interesting alternate reality to think of a universe where the shuttle still existed and was still relevant today. We're going to continue with this build next time, and in the meantime, stay angry about space!